Welcome back to Get Set Builds. We just hit 1,000 subscribers, so I guess we're gonna have to do something fancy and new. I wonder what that could be. I don't know. We'll have to think about it. But it's gotta be something really cool that this channel normally doesn't do. We'll think of something. For now, let's jump down and take a look at today's video. Oh, God! Right. That doesn't hurt. I'm made of plastic. Neat. Anyway, I mentioned a couple times that this video is going to be about boats, so let's take a look at our new police boat. But there's no water on this map. I gotta get back to Rainy Island, but it's on the other side of that wall. How do I get there? Time to get back to Rainy Island. Gotta be brave. Oh, right. Plastic. Okay, here we go. It's just through this locked door. Okay, here we go. We can do this. Just gotta get under the door. Oh, not again. Remember, I'm plastic. Remember, I'm plastic. This is not gonna hurt. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we are. Let's get our new boat in the water. And that's depressing. Not exactly the trim line I was going for. It's been a while since we fixed a boat, so let's take a look at all the things we need to do to get this thing seaworthy. And, we're gonna need a little more space for this. Oh, that's more gooder. All right, let's do this boat thing. So, first, you might notice that the bow of the boat is kind of sinking. Let's get some scuba gear on and take a look at what we can do about that. Wow, have you seen this new mono eye? They're always adding so much cool stuff in here. Anyway, we'll get our all-atmosphere environmental suit on, and we're ready to go. Huh. Okay, let's get out our applicator tool and change the settings on the back plate on the bottom of our boat. And hold on, this still isn't big enough. Oh, that's better. Let's go to Component and add a weight. Wow, this list is getting long. There it is. Now that we have a weight in the back of our boat, we can use our mass setting to level it off. Now, remember, we're not trying to get it to float above the water yet. We're just trying to get it level. Now, if anything, I'd actually like the stern of the boat to be a little lower. But as you can see, we're sitting very low in the water at this point. To fix that, we're going to pull out our applicator tool, and we're going to hold Alt to click on our boat entity. Notice the entire entity is now selected. Let's click on it. There are a few settings here in Edit Brick Grid. The one we're looking for is Buoyancy Scale. We can increase this to raise the height that our boat floats in the water. I'm going to take the headset back off now so you can see my face. Now you can stare directly into my eyes, the windows to the soul. Alright, so let's give our new boat a shot. This is kind of slow. So we'll need to go into our engine settings, hit Edit Vehicle Engine, and oh look, there's a new Controlled Components section that shows us what's connected to the engine. Neat. Anyway, we're going down to the Water Vehicle section, and we're going to increase our drive force. You'll want to do this a few times, slowly increasing it so that you don't suddenly increase it too far. 500 still feels a little slow. Let's try something faster, like 1,000. This works better, but the boat has this weird quality where it stays perfectly level when it's turning, and it has this skatey quality where we drift like we're on ice. This drifting behavior is the same thing we had to fix in our airplane in order to get it to fly better. So let's take a trick from our old airplane to fix our boat. From our airplane episode, we had this system that bled off linear and angular velocity. Well, we can grab our selection tool and select all of this and copy it. I do this all the time. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel here. And seriously, take anything from any of my creations to put into your own. I saw the Neo Shade Zero use my crystal for a gold spawner collectible to go along with this gold spawner. I love this so much. I hope this community continues to embrace kit bashing. Borrowing, adapting, and improving each other's work is how everyone's creations get better over time. The reason I try to label all these parts is to make it easier to kit bash these things. Now, I'm going to jump forward to a more completed version of our boat. However, you can see that this has been copied over to here. However, there's been one small change. On our aircraft, the bleed-off linear and angular velocity is attached to the engine so that it runs whenever the airplane is flying. On the boat, it's connected to the left and right output of the seat control splitter. So I'm gonna need to update this label here. Like that. Much better. And now we're ready to, what? Whoa, what happened? I had a gyroscope in this boat, and the new update changed the way those work. So we're going to have to go in and change this to not discoverable. I'm also going to have to change that in the airplane that I have in the gallery. There we go. Now you can see whenever we're turning, it activates this system, and it deactivates it when it's off. That way, when we're turning, we don't slide around quite as much at this speed. However, when we release our controls, we don't immediately stop either. Now, it doesn't feel right that the boat stays perfectly level the whole time. This isn't how a real boat operates. So let's take a look at how we can fix that. Spoiler alert, the fix has been in here the whole time. We just need to hook up these two multiplication gates to our seat control splitter. The multiplication gates are set to a mass offset of X and Y, attached to a weight that is underneath our boat. What this does is that the seat control splitter sends a value of positive or negative 1. Regardless of whether the value is positive or negative, the multiplication gate will turn 1 into 100 or negative 1 into negative 100, because that's the way math works. Now, because of our weight offset, when we accelerate, the boat will tip back, and when we turn, it will lean into the turns. And because we have a gyro, the boat will return to level rather than having a tendency to flip over at high speeds. You might also notice that there's a little something more going on back here. These splash decals. By default, Brickadia doesn't have a lot of splashing when you're in the water. However, at the rate that the game's being updated, by tomorrow it probably will. To fix this, we can add some invisible wedges to the sides of our boat, and then go into the settings and add a text decal. And in this case, we've added some water splashes. To make it look less like text and more like water, we can also go down and change our material from plastic to glass. Then, we'll add in some logic to make them blink whenever the boat is accelerating. And there we have it. Our boat is fully operational now. That wasn't too much work, was it? We can add in a few extra cosmetic touches to make it even nicer, like this police siren. This is actually the household alarm sound pitched down by 50% in order to make it sound more like an alarm. If we were to turn it back up, you can hear it sounds like the old house alarm sound. Let's get that back where it goes. Using the pitch settings greatly expands the diversity of sounds available in Brickadia. This boat also has floodlights, so we have a switch to control those as well. Features like this add that little touch of quality to your builds without a lot of effort. This boat uses the same logic as the splashes to add a little piston effect on the front of the engine. Of course, this doesn't make a real lot of sense considering the boat has two outboard motors on the back. So, what is the engine in the front for? But let's just not question that. We all know that the coolness factor is what really matters in things like this. A few of Brickadia's update videos have shown off Gatling guns. I specifically made this boat so we can take a look at how to build those. So, real-world bricks avoid anything to do with the military, which means there's not really a Gatling gun part. I tried to keep this one simple to look like one of the one-off pieces you might find in some sets. However, you could also use text decals to make this look hollow, if you're not going for a plastic brick look. Now, obviously this is attached to a bearing to make it spin, but you might be wondering, how do we make sure the correct barrel fires every time it reaches the top? Well, the easiest trick for this is that we don't. This hidden brick is actually what's firing in front of the Gatling gun. The gun behind it is just a cosmetic. The barrels spin so quickly that you don't end up actually seeing which one is firing anyway. Now, there's some key details to get our gun to behave correctly, so let's go into the settings and take a look at those. In order to fire more than one shot at once, you'll want to make sure that your fire rate is above 0. However, this number fires faster the lower it is, so you actually want a low number in order to fire fast, but more than one shot at once. I'd also recommend turning off projectile collisions on any bricks that are spawning projectiles. Sometimes, projectiles can actually hit the brick that they're spawning from, so if we turn this off, we avoid that problem entirely. The guns in the official Brickadia videos have some additional cosmetic features. You could add a light or a brick property changer to make the guns glow orange as they heat up. However, this weapon is meant to look like a plastic toy, so we're going to skip that. And there we have it. Our boat's now armed with 2 Gatling guns we can fire using the space key. And remember what I said about kit bashing? This gunboat is actually a reskin of the police boat. And you can find both of these wild river boats in the gallery, so you can feel free to do some kit bashing of your own. Have fun out there, and I'll see you next time on Get Set Builds.